Hi there, it is Jo from Minerva, and today I'm here to do a tutorial on how to make a box pleat. There are two types of box pleat: a box pleat where you see the fold on the right side, or an inverted box pleat where the fold is on the wrong side, so you get a little opening that peeps through to the fabric underneath. Depending on what fabric you choose will depend what your pleat will look like at the end. So if you choose something like a sateen, a cotton lawn, or a poplin, you'll get a really crisp pleat. So you'll press it and it will stay in place, sometimes even after you've washed it. You can also use pleats if you've got a softer fabric like a crepe. So you will get a pleat with not such hard and crisp edges. It will just be more of a sort of gentle fold. It really does depend what you want the overall look of your final garment to be. I'll give you a little bit of pattern inspiration at the end, so if you enjoy watching the tutorial today and you think, well, I'd like to have a go at that, I'll show you a few patterns where you can try out your skill. All patterns with pleats are there to add volume and shape and to make movement for the body inside the garment. So whether it's a box pleat, an inverted pleat, a knife pleat, an underlay pleat, a dart pleat, they're all here to give the garment some room. So this is the DP Studio box pleat blouse, and the pleats are on the right side. So this looks like a box pleat here, but actually they're inverted, look, because the next one sits here. The next one sits here, and there's a fold into the sleeve. You don't often see a pleat into a sleeve. Sometimes you see one here as a sort of feature that opens up for a bicep. This is made in a Swiss cotton dot, which is a really nice fabric for this kind of pleat because you can get a press on the pleat at the top, but then it can open up and become a soft pleat and be uncreased at the bottom. The back has buttons and collar and roller loops, and I've elasticated the bottom of mine rather than putting the frill on the bottom because that's the shape that I prefer. So let's have a look how we can make these style pleats. First of all, we're going to show you a little tutorial on the technique of it, and I've used some sample fabrics so that I can really show you the markings, because if I was doing a sew along I wouldn't want to overmark my fabric. So I've got some sample pieces and I'll show you how to make a box pleat. The first part of making pleats is to transfer your markings from the pattern to the fabric. And this can be a tricky thing because you need to put the markings on the right side of the fabric, but you will not want those marks to continue to be on your fabric when you're wearing your garment. So it's a good idea with whatever marking tool you choose that you test on a little piece of fabric. So if it's a washable pen, do a little piece and wash it. If it's an air erasable pen, check that it goes away. If you're using a coloured chalk more than a white chalk, then make sure that the colour pigment doesn't stay in your fabric. Or if you're using carbon paper, just test whether it's going to wash out of your fabric. And it might wash out of some fabrics, but not out of others. So just make sure before you do your full range of marking that the marking tool, whichever one that you use, will come out of the fabric. I like to use a retractable chalk pencil because I can change colours in that, so I can make sure I've got a white one in so that it's not seen. But of course that's not very useful for you watching, so I've used a different colour chalk here. For a box pleat, we'll be looking for some solid and some dashed lines. So we're going to take the solid line to the dashed line and pin in place. And we're going to take the other solid line to the dashed line and pin in place. You'll be asked in a pattern to machine baste across the end. I like to close up my box pleat so that it doesn't peel open, because sometimes if that peels open then they won't be meeting, especially if you're putting it under your foot plate, it sort of peels like that. So if it's all closed up, you can be really accurate, especially if this is to go across the back yoke of a shirt, or you're going to put lots of box pleats in that will affect the length of a waist, then you don't want to give yourself 3mm on that one, 3mm on that one gaping open and another, because then your next piece in the construction of your garment will be inaccurate and it won't fit. So you can really close those up if you tack them. It can be messy, it doesn't matter. It's just a way to secure them. That's just taken me seconds, so it's definitely worth doing and not skipping. So now when I take this under the machine, even when it's on the foot, it can't peel open. Sometimes you will be making a soft box pleat like this, where the ends just gradually taper out into the fabric, or sometimes you might be making a box pleat that adds a detail, so you'll be doing the top and the bottom, and it creates a place for width or movement. You sometimes get it on like a feature sleeve on the outer, from shoulder to the hem, where you get the pleats create an opening. So sometimes you will have it closed up and sometimes it will be a soft pleat. Either way, you'll need to be pressing it. So if you steam press a closed pleat, you want that nice crisp edge. For an open box pleat, you need to be steam pressing at the top, and then you need to be just lightly pressing the bottom and getting your iron tips into the pleat so that you can gradually take that out to flatter fabric. I would leave this in until I've completed the construction of my waistband and all the other parts needed around that area, and then I could take these out at the end. When you do your machine baste, make sure that you have kept the pleats flat. So sometimes it's beneficial to put pins in near the pleat so that you're really concentrating on the pleat, but also to think about how you're going to work that spare fabric behind to keep that flat, because you don't want that to be sewn and making a lumpy area. That's an inverted box pleat, a closed one and an open one. Of course, a box pleat on its own is the other way round, so you would follow the arrows on your pattern, and this time this would be the right side of your fabric. So you would have this sometimes like as a feature down the center front of a top. You might have another one here, so you get movement and space between the final measurement up here, but you'll have some space here. That's what pleats are for. They create volume and space. So this is a box pleat, and this is an inverted box pleat. Being accurate when you mark pleats is pretty important, because if you are joining that piece then onto another piece, then they won't fit. So for example, on this top, I had to be super accurate around that neckline, because if I just let this pleat open by 1 or 2 millimeters, and this one, and this one, and this one, then the collar and the collar stand would not fit the circumference of the neckline. Same, but if you're adding a waistband to something, you know, there is the option to adjust your fit a little bit with pleats. So you could let something out a little bit and have a little gap between your pleats, but then of course remember the next piece won't fit on if you make measurement changes while you're making pleats. So while I was making this blouse, I have made a sew along for this blouse, which will be coming up soon. I have just taken some of the frames of the box pleating so that you can see it in action on a real garment, not just on a sample. So here it is in action. You'll need to transfer the markings from your pattern onto your fabric. So you can do that with a chalk or with little snips in the fabric. You need to locate the centre front, because our pleats are going from the centre front and then in the other way. You'll always have a picture on your pattern or arrows drawn on your pattern pieces. They will show you which way the pleats are to be folded. So this one goes from the solid line to that little notch there, which is my dashed line. Then the next one goes the other way, so the solid line goes to the dashed line. These create soft pleats. In this case, I'm trying to keep the contour of the neck. So when I make the pleat, if I don't get that pleat line quite at the right angle, I won't have the correct shape for my neckline. So I'm just making sure that I don't have it twisted or any little bits sticking up. On the back, you'll see those little flaps that I was showing you on the sample. And it's really important when you're making a garment that you keep those down, because I've got to apply a collar to this. So I need everything to be lying nice and flat. Again, I'm looking for those solid lines to be matched up exactly, because I've made the collar for this top and I need to make sure that the circumference of the neck is correct for the length of my collar. There we are, that is the front piece all pleated. It doesn't say it in many patterns, it just says to baste across the top of the pleats, but I like to tack down the pleats a little bit further. It just stops them moving around under the machine and twisting out at an unusual angle. This is now ready to have the collar applied. Everything is tacked down and those pleats are meeting exactly, and then my collar fit on exactly as well. Another way you might treat a box pleat is if you need it for shaping. So if you have a dress, you might have pleats that open up to make a large volume here. So you might get like 3 pleats here and 3 pleats here, and they open up, and sometimes they're called an open dart. So sometimes on a pattern they're called an open dart, and sometimes you might actually have them as an inverted box pleat so that you get a really roomy piece of volume for your bust area. I had some pleats that I used on a dress, this one here, and when I tried the dress on, I was getting too much volume on the waist, and because I'm quite short-waisted, it really accentuated how short my body was, and then the skirt seemed to sort of come out from under my bra. So I sewed down the pleats on the inside and used that finish where I didn't unpick it all the way up to the waistband. So I kept the top of the pleat sewn down and then let it open out a bit lower down. And it wasn't like top stitching, it just gave me a smoother silhouette and it made my body look a lot longer. Sometimes you might have a box pleat that isn't just attached at the top, it might actually tell you how long it should be, and it will normally have a dot at the end to show where it ends, and then you bring together the 2 lines and you sew much further down. So rather than just basting across the top here to hold the box pleat in place, you're going to sew a length down the skirt piece or the top piece, and then your box pleat will open up from a slightly different position. So when you've pressed it from behind, you've created the inverted box pleat, because there's the box on the back just tucked across the end, and you get a smooth line at the top, and then it kicks out into the box pleat, and then it can actually go down into completely soft folds at the bottom. So really what you're doing is you're creating that smaller top that can then kick out. I used this technique on a dress, New Look 6528. So instead of having the pleats opening right up to the waist, I had mine sewed down. This is a good way of holding down the top of your box pleats without having top stitching, because sometimes top stitching isn't the right style for the style of garment. So this is a much smoother way of holding the top down, whereas you might have some top stitching if it's a little bit more casual. If you've enjoyed today's video and you want to have a go at some box pleating or try and improve the accuracy of your sewing, then here are a few patterns where you can use box pleats to get that really nice sort of volume, shape and design line. The first one is Burda 6532. This is a sundress, or you could make a top. So if you want to have your first go at box pleats, then you could try the top. Again, you'll be looking for the accuracy around that empire line so that the bodice piece fits onto the skirt piece. If you'd like to have a go at a skirt, the assembly line 3-pleat skirt is a good place to start. You only need to make 3 pleats, so you'll probably be able to have a little margin for error there, or a little bit of room for fitting, because there aren't any pleats in the back. So you'll be able to get a good fit around your waist and hips with that one. That pattern will work with lots of different fabrics, so I think you'd need something with a bit of structure there. So one of our cotton sateens would be really great. Any kind of poplin where you get a really crisp pleat on the front. That will also give you a little bit of volume across the hips and the waistline. If trousers are more your thing, then you could take a look at Butterick 6178. It's a pair of pleat fronted trousers, but not only pleats on the front, but you also have pleats on the back. So there's a couple of different views here. Some Minerva makers have made the flat front version, but on view B, C and A, you can get different lengths, but then you can get these box pleats that go in the front and around the side, and they continue right round to the back. So you'll get lots of volume in the leg, like a sort of slightly culotte style, but you'll have a nice smooth fitting top around your hips and waist. This would be really great in a cotton again, or you could also try a viscose if you wanted the bottoms to be a little bit more flowy. You could try a wool, like one of our Minerva core range, sort of wool crepes. That would make a really smart pair of trousers. Or you could also try a crepe pair where you have a softer pleat and a really soft flowing pair of trousers. You can also put box pleats in jersey items. So this is Pamela's Flowy Tee. It's a t-shirt design that's just elevated up from a t-shirt a little bit. There's a few different options here. You can have different sleeve lengths, a cuff. It's got a yoke on the top. So on the reverse, there's one big box pleat, and that might be really useful for you if you have a smaller shoulder to hip or tummy ratio. So if you want more room around the middle, then you can get a really nice fitting top through the yoke bit at the top and the bodice bit at the top, and then you can add that box pleat to the back, which will give you a little bit more room for the fabric to come round to the front. And I haven't seen this pattern before, so I'd be interested to see if anybody makes it. And of course, if you're up for a challenge, then you can have a go at the DP Studio box pleat blouse. This is a French pattern company. I've chosen a cotton Swiss dot, but it's good for cotton lawn, sateen, any kind of light cotton, embroideries anglais, any of those sort of embroidered fabrics. It could actually work in something sheer. If you really, really wanted to challenge yourself, you could make a sort of chiffon georgette one. You'd get very soft pleats and a real sort of evening statement blouse. I hope some of those ideas might be something to consider. Do head over to Minerva, where you will see all of the items that I've just mentioned. They'll all be tagged below, and you can have a look at other patterns and fabrics. We would love to see what you've been making, so do make a free account with us, share your makes and tell us all about the sewing projects that you've been up to. We love to hear about it in our Minerva sewing community. Thank you very much for watching. Do come back because there's some more of these pleat videos for you to see. See you soon.